Ever heard of a company using reorganization as a way to kind of push out someone they don't like?
Oh, yeah. Happens more than you'd think.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. This case went super viral here in the Philippines. Isabela Electric Cooperative, Inc. versus Vicente B. Del Rosario Jr., GR Gnome 226369. Decided July 17th, 2019.
Big one.
It really makes you think twice about, what job security even means.
Absolutely. It's a classic example of, that tension between what a company can do legally and what's fair to the employee.
So the story starts with Vicente Del Rosario Jr. He starts at Isabela Electric Cooperative back in '96
Okay.
as a financial assistant.
Humble beginnings.
Right. And he moves up pretty quickly, becomes their management internal auditor.
No, that's a key position.
What exactly does that involve?
So the management internal auditor is essentially the company's financial watchdog, making sure, everything's on the up and up, the books are balanced.
Following the rules.
Exactly. Big responsibility.
So not just anyone can step into that.
Definitely not. You need specific qualifications experience.
And in this case, Del Rosario was the only certified public accountant,
CPA?
CPA, working for the company.
Yeah, that's going to be important later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Fast forward to 2011, and the company decides, let's shake things up. Big reorganization.
Ah, the dreaded reorg.
All positions are declared vacant. Everyone has to reapply for their own jobs.
Can you imagine the stress?
I can't even. Talk about uncertainty.
Right, but sometimes companies need to do this.
Adapt.
Yeah, adapt to the market, streamline things, become more efficient.
I get it. But this is where things get a little tricky for Del Rosario.
Okay, I see where this is going.
He applies for his old job, the management internal auditor, and even a higher one, just in case. But then, while he's on vacation,
Oh, no. Never a good sign.
the company, they make an announcement.
Uh-oh.
He's appointed as area operations manager.
Sounds fancy.
Right. But at the same time, he gets a memo saying he's being replaced as the auditor.
So not a promotion then.
And here's the real kicker. The person they choose to replace him isn't even a CPA.
Wait, hold on. They replaced the only qualified person with someone who doesn't even have the same credentials.
Exactly.
I mean, come on. Something's not right here.
So you can see why Del Rosario saw this as a demotion right now.
Totally.
Straight up.
Yeah.
He tries to reason with the company.
And
No luck.
so what does he do?
He decides to fight back. He files a lawsuit for illegal dismissal.
Taking them to court. Bold move.
And this is where we get into this concept of constructive dismissal.
Right. It's not a straightforward firing. It's more like, ugh.
Like they're making the job so impossible
Yeah, the condition's so bad.
that you're basically forced to quit.
Exactly.
So Del Rosario is arguing, look, they didn't officially fire me,
Right.
but they made my position untenable.
By demoting him.
Yeah, without a real reason.
Mhm.
So it goes to the labor arbiter first.
What?
Well, initially, they side with the company.
Oh, no way.
They say, yeah, the reorganization, that seems legit.
So round one goes to the company.
But Del Rosario, he doesn't give up.
Mhm.
He appeals
Makes sense. Where does it go next?
to the National Labor Relations Commission,
The NLRC.
the NLRC. That's like,
Kind of the next level up in the legal system for this kind of thing.
right, for labor cases.
They can basically overrule the labor arbiter.
And that's exactly what they do.
No way. They
Yeah.
sided with Del Rosario.
Full on. They say there was no justification for the demotion, and they award him back pay, damages.
Wow. A complete reversal.
Total plot twist. But of course, the company.
They're not going to just let that stand.
Nope. They appeal to the Court of Appeals.
Okay, so another step up the legal ladder.
Yeah.
And the Court of Appeals actually upholds the NLRC's decision. They agree that Del Rosario was illegally dismissed, but
There's always a but.
they remove the back pay.
Oh, so now what?
Well, at this point,
It's going to the Supreme Court.
the big league.
The highest court in the land.
This is getting serious.
And that's where we'll pick up next time.
So everyone's waiting to see what the Supreme Court's going to do.
Right. What did they decide?
They actually sided with Del Rosario.
No way.
Big time. Sent shockwaves, I tell ya, through the corporate world here.
Wow. So the Supreme Court agreed that he was demoted.
Without a valid reason, they said the company didn't prove the reorganization was in good faith.
So they weren't buying the whole, we're just trying to be more efficient argument.
Nope. They really dug deep, Compared his old job to the new one, looked at the salary, responsibilities, even the job titles themselves.
And?
Clear demotion. And remember that whole CPA thing?
Oh, yeah, he was the only one.
The Supreme Court, they found it really suspicious that they replaced him with someone not even qualified.
It's almost like they were trying to get rid of him on purpose.
Right.
So what happens to the company? Do they just give him his old job back?
Oh, it's more than that. The Supreme Court, they reinstated the back pay the Court of Appeals took away.
Man.
And they upheld the damages from the NLRC. It was a message,
Like, don't mess with your employees.
Exactly. You can't just use reorganization as an excuse to get rid of someone you don't like.
So what does this mean for other companies or employees if they're in a similar situation?
Well, first off, it shows that, management, they can't just do whatever they want. They have to have a good reason for making changes.
And it has to be fair.
Exactly. And for employees, it's important to, know your rights. If something feels wrong, speak up.
Document everything.
Yeah. Keep track of your job description, performance reviews, anything related to the reorganization.
Like a paper trail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to get legal advice if you think you've been treated unfairly.
This case really shows that the legal system, sometimes it can work,
It can. It's about that balance, right?
Between the company and the employee.
It's interesting. The court, they didn't just focus on the law, They really looked at the human side of it.
The impact on Del Rosario.
Yeah, the emotional stress, the damage to his reputation.
They awarded him damages for that.
They did. Moral damages. They recognized that a job, it's more than just a paycheck.
It's your livelihood, your sense of self-worth.
Absolutely. And, I think this case also highlights how important communication is.
Especially during a big shakeup.
Right. If the company had just been upfront with their employees, maybe this whole thing could have been avoided.
Transparency is key.
Builds trust. And trust is essential for a healthy work environment.
Totally. So, listeners, if you're in a leadership position, take notes.
Yeah, take notes.
What about you? Have you ever been through a company reorganization? Did it feel fair?
We want to hear your stories.
Head to the comments and let us know.
And while you're there, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
We'll be back with more deep dives soon. Thinking about this whole case, it's got to be so stressful for everyone involved, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, imagine you come into work one day and they tell you, hey, you got to reapply for your own job.
Just throws everything up in the air.
Total uncertainty. It's got to be tough on morale.
And productivity, too.
Yeah.
Right? Like, did the company even think about that?
Yeah, it's a good point. Reorgs, they can really backfire if they're not done carefully.
Destroy trust.
Exactly. Creates this whole atmosphere of fear.
People are afraid to speak up or take any risks.
It's like they say people don't quit jobs, they quit
Bad bosses.
bad bosses, yeah. If you don't feel valued.
Why would you stay?
Right. In this case, it just shows how important it is to communicate.
Be empathetic.
Yeah, especially when things are changing.
If Isabela-I had just been more open with their employees,
Listen to their concerns.
things might have turned out differently.
It's about treating people with dignity, even when you got to make tough choices.
This case, it's a good lesson for leaders.
For sure.
It's better to prevent these issues.
Than to try to fix them later.
If you create a work environment where people feel supported,
Where they can speak openly.
you'll have a much more resilient team.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about following the rules.
It's about the culture.
Creating a culture where everyone feels valued.
Exactly.
So before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. What kind of workplace do you want to be a part of?
Good question.
And if you're a leader,
Think about how you can create that environment.
where people feel heard.
Respected, empowered.
These are things we should all be thinking about,
Not just during reorgs.
but all the time.
Remember, everyone benefits from a positive work environment.
Happier employees, more productivity.
And ultimately, a more successful company.
Well, that's about it for our deep dive into this fascinating case.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Learned something new.
Knowledge is power right.
The more you know about your rights,
Your responsibilities.
the better you can navigate the workplace.
So be sure to subscribe to the channel.
For more deep dives.
Into the legal world.
Until next time,
Stay curious.
and stay informed.